Welcome to Running for Real, a global community with a shared love and curiosity for running. Together we reconnect with the reasons why we love to run and discover ways it helps us become better people. Whether it's the quiet moments of a morning run while the rest of the world still sleeps, or befriending the strangers next to you at the start line of a race. We are here to connect with others who see running as the common thread that weaves our lives together. Come join me, Tina Muir, as I talk with people from all walks of life, united by a love of running. Hello, my friends. Welcome to episode 354 of the Running for Real podcast. Thank you for joining me today. I'm excited that you are here and excited to introduce you to my guest today. Now, my guest today, you're actually going to hear us talking a lot about someone else in this interview. And that someone else is the reason she and I know each other. It's also a previous podcast guest who you may have heard on episode 301 of the Running for Real podcast. And that person, Dio Cato, is about to embark on something so powerful and so important and deeper than what it seems. And so we wanted to talk about that. But I also wanted to have a conversation about something more than that, about being someone who is the partner of someone doing something difficult, how to support those we love who are going to take on a giant challenge. And this is something we've never covered on this podcast because while we've talked about these amazing feats and things that people have done, or not even necessarily something that is considered amazing or something that is life-changing, maybe it's just something that most of us see as a normal thing to do, but it is a lot of demand on the other person. Even just training for any kind of race, any kind of event requires time, requires energy, requires sacrifices and changes for loved ones. And so I thought this was a really important conversation to have. Although I thought once she put it in my head. So I'm really glad that Alice Light reached out to me about this episode. You're going to hear how that came about. And Alice is here to talk about her own journey because she in herself has a lot to share and a lot that will resonate. And I do want to warn you that in this episode, we do talk about abuse, not for very long, but for a few moments. So if this is something that could be triggering for you, make sure maybe someone else listens to it first, or you have the availability to turn it off when we get to talking about that part. I just wanted to let you know ahead of time. So today I am excited to welcome Alice Light to the show. Again, she is Dio's partner, who you're going to hear from, who you would have heard on episode 301. If not, go back and listen to that one. And without any further ado, let's go get to our conversation with Alice. Thank you to GotSneakers for sponsoring this episode of the Running for Real podcast. I am so excited to welcome this new sponsor to our podcast and to tell you about this. This is not even about them being a partner. I am just glad we now have a place to pass along our used running shoes. So many of you have asked me over the years, what should I do with my running shoes once I'm done with them? Now I have an answer for you. GotSneakers is thrilled to be a partner of Running for Real. We are helping to extend the life of athletic footwear through reuse and recycling. In addition to keeping footwear out of landfills, GotSneakers is going to offer you a monetary compensation for each and every pair of your shoes recycled through their program. Compensation is based on style, quality, and brands, and there's a lot more information on the website. You can go to gotsneakers.com/Tina Muir. That's gotsneakers.com/Tina Muir. You'll simply fill out the form below. They'll send you a free shoe recycling kit. Once you receive that, you're going to fill it up with your pre-loved shoes. You're going to contact FedEx. They'll pick up your bags, or you can drop them off at a FedEx location. Shipping is free. And then you will get the compensation for your shoes and also keep those shoes out of a landfill. Check out gotsneakers.com/Tina Muir. Be sure to go check out that link. It is created for us as runners. And I'm really excited to hear your thoughts on this. Check out gotsneakers.com/Tina Muir. Alice, welcome to the Running for Real podcast. I am excited that you are here. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
I want to begin by maybe embarrassing you a little bit and maybe setting myself up for many, many messages to come. But I just want to begin by part of the reason you and I are talking here is because of your courage and strength to reach out and advocate on behalf of yourself, on behalf of your partner, Deo, who is a previous podcast episode, episode number 301. So you can go back and listen to that. We'll talk about that a bit later. But also just for women, for people who are supportive of someone they love doing something difficult. And you reached out to me in a very authentic and human and beautiful way. And even though you and I have discussed it came in timing wise for me and what I was going through in my life at a time that easily could have been lost, but you again took the courage again and checked in with me. And that is the reason we are here. But the reason I want to bring that up is because so often, especially as women, we are like the inner critic, the fear of failure, the what ifs stop us from doing things like that. And by you taking that deep breath and doing it anyway, I think this is going to be such an important conversation and one that needed to be had. And so I just appreciate you for putting yourself out there, because that is not easy to do. So thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. Imposter syndrome, I would say. But thank you so much for listening to my voice notes.
No, I love them. Yeah. Well, anyone who knows me well knows that I love voice notes. So you hit me in the right place. Although, as I said, I'm probably going to open myself up now to thousands of voice notes. So we'll see where that goes. But anyway, okay. So I mentioned I had interviewed your partner, Deo, last year. I also have loved continuing on since then, following what Deo has been up to, and as he is about to take on the biggest challenge potentially of his life. Although who knows with him whether he will find something even more difficult to take on after this. Yeah, we're going to talk about that later. But I want to begin by talking about you, because when you messaged me, you found it really important to say that while you have a partner who is a runner, while you have a partner who is doing something really important, running has also been there for you. And just because he is a runner, it doesn't mean that that's the only reason that you are doing this. So I would love to hear a little bit about your running background, your journey to this moment, and what running means to you.
Oh, wow. Running is, it sounds cliche. Many people have said this. Running has saved my life. It literally has. I've been curious about it for many years, but have often been told I can't, and I have too often taken that on. And so I started running a couch to 10K. I was ill. I'd come back from a lot of trauma. So that story has been told, and I've shared that quite openly now online. And running just started as a process for me. I'd say mental healing, emotional healing, finding myself, finding a community, understanding who Alice was or is. I'm still doing that work. And I didn't know the running community existed, but so much love has come my way. And often people have said to me, oh, you got into running because of Deo. And it couldn't be further from the truth. We both run, and we found each other through running. And I'll continue to run when he's running through Africa, and I will continue running forevermore, knowing what it does and how it helps me. So I've been running for 3 years. I did couch to 100 kilometers in a couple of years. I ran 100K last summer. It was the best experience of my life. It changed my life. It was a lot of joy. It was hard. A lot of joy in that moment. And obviously now you are an ultra runner. There's something very special about the ultra running community. It's very different. I grew up in mid Wales, very blessed with an upbringing from a very, how would I say this, environmentally sound, nature-focused family, and spent my life in the woods and climbing trees. I'm very, very blessed. But I never knew you could run. It was just part of my life. And so now it's sort of going back and exploring trails whilst I'm still living in central London. Exploring trails has opened up a new world to me. And, you know, I have to get to trails probably once a fortnight at the least to get that sort of hit.
Yes, I feel that 100%.
Yeah, it's good, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. So you asked what running is for me. So I guess that answers the question there. And then Dale and I met.
I got to go back to the couch to 100K. It's not something you hear every day. So how did that unfold? In terms of, you hear of occasionally couch to marathon, but couch to 100K. Give us some detail.
Yeah. I got the app Couch to 10K. It was before lockdown started, but interestingly enough, it was a blessing because of being a single mum and homeschooling, and I think commuting into the city would have just not been possible. So I ran instead of commuted. So that's how I made that work. And I've always wanted to get past that sort of hump of just being able to run. I wanted to run and it be easy, not easy, but comfortable. Running's never easy. And a joy. So I did the Couch to 10K, and I signed up to a half marathon at that time. And it was a charity called Mothers to Mothers in Africa, who support women with HIV and help them live a life HIV free, without transmitting it to their children. And it just really spoke to me, because after what the trauma and what happened to me back when I was 21, I had to go through that whole, journey of testing for HIV, and maybe I wouldn't have had my daughter. And I told my story on a Just Giving page, and the journey kind of started. I was training virtually. I didn't have a plan. I didn't know how training for a half marathon was, but I was just inspired, and I had a why, and I just started putting in the work. And it was the half marathon was put off until, what year was it? Last year? I think it was last year or the year before last. It was postponed because of COVID. It was still virtual. So when I finished it was in a little park with a finishing banner they sent you, and my daughter was there. And from that, I didn't know what to do to keep the momentum going. I'm very, very scared of start lines and crowds. The anxiety, the fear of failure it's really real with me. And I think that's why I really like trails, because you are very quickly on your own. So you're not competing or compared to anyone, and back of the pack or mid pack. It's just you, and I find peace with that. So I haven't run road races, very few anyway. So I did a half marathon trail, and then I was already in a relationship with Deo. We got together earlier that year, and he was coming to the end of his first year running for justice, and on his final run, someone said, "You need to pass the baton on. You can't stop this." So one of our friends in the community, Leroy Valentine, an incredible ultra runner, took the baton for a month. His sister then took it on for, I think, a couple of weeks. And I took it on for the month of August. Having just done my first half marathon, that was my longest distance. I was running 3 times a week, and I was taking on 10 kilometers a day for a whole month. And towards the end of that month, the person who's taking on the baton was injured. So I said, well, I'll carry on for a couple of weeks until the next person had it. So I did it for 45 days. And that was really, really interesting for me, because it was a journey of, I really wanted to do the 10 kilometers a day in support of Deo. I wanted to see what it was like to do a whole month, a full female cycle, moon cycle, and still keep running, because I think we don't put enough emphasis on that. I was still discovering my running. And I also wanted to nail the 10-kilometer distance, which was the distance I hated at the time, interestingly. And in the middle of that, I ran my first road race, which was a half marathon. So momentum built quite quickly. But Deo was a huge inspiration for me, because he never doubted me. As this kind man, never doubted me, never questioned me. He just believed in me. And he was incredibly supportive. And I think it was in October on my birthday a few years ago that I told my story publicly about Paris and what happened to me in Paris. And I just signed up to Paris Marathon, and I went on a journey of, you know what, I'm going to reclaim the streets. I'm going to take back my dreams, because of something that happened and changed my life forever, and still is an event that is often in my mind.
Absolutely.
I'm going to change the narrative. I'm going to talk about this. And the momentum and the women that reached out to me and the shared stories was overwhelming. It was phenomenal. It was just women with shared stories, women that can't tell their story for whatever reason, women from all backgrounds. And I was really proud that I found something really strong from such an awful time in my life. That people who had known it had happened, even now, say, why can't you just put that to bed? Why are you still talking about that? That's hard, because that I'm not bringing it to the surface to play the victim. I'm bringing it to the surface because it's something that happens so often. And that really came to light when I started telling my story. And Deo was just the supportive partner, and I didn't ask his permission like I'd always done. I'd come out of very bad relationships, and I'm really grateful for his support, or his belief in me to take my own journey. He's just beside me, holding my hand, if you like. Whether he's present or not, he believes in what I'm doing. And I think that's why I've been able to go on this journey, I guess. Oh, and then you asked about 100K.
Well, I want to just pause us for a second here. Oh, you're fine. Don't worry. I get distracted all the time. As everyone listening to this knows, you kind of, I think people have probably alluded to what you're referring to, but you had said you have covered this on other podcasts, other places. So if someone is feeling that ping of like, oh, I know what she's talking about, like that is very real for me, that where would you send them to go, feel that support and hear that part of your story if they need to hear it?
They should go to my Instagram page, alice.light.731, or alice.light731.
There's a link.
Women have DM'd me and found me online, and I will always reply, reach out. I feel like I've talked about my story and I've given a voice to people and women that can't. And if anyone has shared experiences, they understand exactly what I'm talking about, because it's not easy. And it's not easy digging into that story and that part of my life. And my most, big recent episode was finally divorcing my ex, who I deported back to Mexico, who was very abusive, and I haven't really spoken about that because I was waiting for the divorce to come through, which took 4 years because of COVID. But I feel like my strength is the other women, the women that find peace with me telling a story that's happened to so many of us. Rape and abuse, and has so many different facades and so many different sides to it. It's not one image. It's so different for everyone, and I think that's what's really important.
Yep.
So reach out. Yeah. Read my story on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then I will put a link to the show notes for people to do that. And then second thing I want to ask you about is you said about the importance of Deo, like someone there holding your hand. what we're going to go on to talk about in a few minutes within this episode is what it is like being a partner who does something big, like we're about to share about what Deo is about to embark on. But also you have just said the other side here about the importance of standing beside someone and holding their hand. How is that different to other ways that, maybe some of us listening, myself included, might think that we're trying to support someone, but actually we're not. We're trying to remove our own discomfort by trying to fix or trying to do something else or trying to take away. Yeah, give us a bit more information about what you meant by that and how that's different to what we might think support means.
I think for me personally, Deo and I support each other equally, and he will agree with we're growing. I don't believe he could do this journey without me, and I certainly wouldn't have done a lot of what I've done without him. Not because he's proofreading my Instagram posts or saying you should and shouldn't do this race, but it's more that you have that person who is fundamentally 100% without a doubt just got your back and is behind you. Deo, I asked Deo early on in our relationship, how I could support it, and you said it early on when you introduced me, is that being authentic is really important and being bold. And I haven't been able to do that a lot in my life for the just being around the wrong people. People haven't allowed me to shine or haven't, I don't know if bigged me up is the right term, but, I really believe in surrounding yourself with people who want only the best for you, and you only want the best for them, and you all rise together. Well, you might rise differently because you're doing different things, but you're all rising, we're all supporting and encouraging each other. And they have said, just show up, but be consistent. And I have, and I have showed up for myself, for him, for my daughter, and being authentic. And I think, we live in a world where so many people aren't authentic, or so many people we worry, and I'm the same, worry what people think, compare yourself to others. I'm an ultra runner. I am an ultra runner, but I have to repeat it because even though I've done 3 ultra marathons now, I need to remind myself that I am an ultra runner. And just sort of, show up and be authentic and be you and take that space, because no one else is going to take the space of Alice Light. So use it wisely and enjoy it. That's what I'm trying to do, I'd say. And I think supporting is that.
Friends, we are 2 months out from the release of Becoming a Sustainable Runner. Zoe and I have been working on this book for years. There is so much energy, love, light we have put into this book. And the reason we wrote this book is because we wanted to make sustainability in terms of our own running, in terms of being part of our community, and yes, in terms of a planet. We wanted to make it a place where you would feel like you were part of the solution, because so much of environmentalism, so much of this world that we live in is just making us feel like nothing we do is enough, making us feel like nothing we do, we might as well not even try. This book is here to give you a guidebook of how to make little changes within your own life that can make a big change, primarily just through impacting those around you, by leading by example. Even if it is the smallest of steps that you are taking steps that are changing the world and are inspiring others. And that is how change happens. So if you're a runner, if you care about the planet you run on, if you believe that you can be a part of changing the world for the better, this book is for you. It's a practical guide for runners of all abilities, all backgrounds, who want to take meaningful action, and you want to use your love of sport to do it. We bring together personal stories, research, expert input, and we show how every one of us can better support our own endurance running, how we can extend these lessons into meaningful environmental action. We make this book approachable. It contains training tips and takeaways for beginner runners and elites alike. It's going to teach you how to approach your own practice in a more sustainable way. And it's going to help you it's going to be a useful guide for you to take meaningful action on climate justice. We're going to give you a compelling case that's not just how to be an environmental steward, but why. So every one of us can connect our love of running to this landscape that nourishes, that takes care of us, that we love. And if you go to becomingasustablerunner.com, you will be able to get 50 little tips, little things we have done, these beyond running sustainability tips. So it's going to give you running things from the book. It's going to give you community things. It's going to give you planet things, all ahead of time. I have made this PDF. It is absolutely free. Go to becomingasustablerunner.com. At that website, you can sign up for that. You can also order your book at all the major retailers. We have the link to Target, Amazon around the world, should I add, Barnes & Noble, Bookshop, Waterstones, and Human Kinetics. Go check out becomingasustablerunner.com. Go pre-order before it comes out on August 18th. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. So flip that to Deo. I'm going to stop alluding to this and actually just say what he's doing. Deo, as I said, he was on a previous episode, has been running 10K a day for 381 days, which all was inspired by the Montgomery bus boycott in 1955, where there was a civil rights protest that lasted for 381 days. While he has passed on do you say the baton? Is that
we say the baton,
yeah. To other people to take on, months. And you mentioned there about you doing some of those months. He is now embarking on a new, in a month's time, is about to embark on a really big, hard to wrap your head around version of this. So could you share with us a bit about what that is, and then we're going to go into the main part of our conversation about supporting that. So, I think it's better to come from you what he's doing.
Yeah, okay. So Deo finished his first 381 days, completing 10 kilometers a day, and in amongst that were quite a few ultra marathons and marathons. Took the baton into the community, and as I said before, the different crews, individuals. I did it again this year in January with my friend Angela, also from Uganda. Deo's from Uganda, or born Ugandan, and we did alternate days. So we did 10 kilometers each day. We keep having to get over, and it was a really great way of doing it. I really enjoyed it, although it was just after I did my 70-kilometer ultra, so I wouldn't advise that. And so the community has been growing. It's growing. And Deo is taking the baton back on the 23rd of July, and he flies to Cape Town that night, and we'll start to run from Cape Town to London on the 24th of July. The route will be continuous. Minimum will be 10 kilometers a day, but he will have to average about a marathon a day to get it done within 381 days. But this isn't a run. It's not a run. Lots of people do long runs. There's lots of cross, continent and big kind of challenges. In fact, there's a guy running Africa at the moment. It's important to Deo that he tells a story. It's important to a lot of us, and he just happens to be the person doing it, I think, on my behalf. But telling the story of human migration from Africa to the rest of the world. So humans first arrived in Africa, and that telling the story that we all come from the same place and migrated elsewhere in the world. So this is the story and the journey that Deo will go on throughout Africa, coming up to Uganda, which will be a roughly midway point, where he was born and raised until the age of 10. He will run down the streets where he played, which will look very different now. And we're just finalising bits and pieces of the route for the North African section, coming back up to London. So it's a huge journey, but it's just so much more than a run. The people he will meet, the stories he'll tell.
Yeah,
so there we are.
Yeah, it It is a lot. And 381 days of this, I mean, doing it for that reason, as you said, the people he will meet along the way, it is a lot for him. And it is going to be something that is going to be so powerful, so impactful. But also, we wanted to spend a good chunk of this episode today talking about you two as a partnership. The fact that he is going to be gone for that period of time. Your partner will be away and at times going through traumatic and painful physical, mentally, spiritually moments that you will be away from, and all while you're trying to support him this entire time. So this was your suggestion. So I would love if you had thoughts on where we could have a chat about this, because this is something I don't think I've covered on the podcast. But, regardless of whether someone listening is the partner doing the supporting, or whether they are trying to support their partner doing things that are important to them and sometimes can be hard to understand. Why did you think it was important to have this conversation?
Well, there is that old saying of behind every great man there's a great woman, but it's a lot more than that. It's a lot more than that. I think most of my friends have been running a training for London Marathon this year, and countless people and relationships have to be supporting each other, whether it's through childcare so that the partner can do their training for marathon day. This takes it to a whole different level, and I've known about this for 2 years. So it's been there have been highs and lows in this 2 years. Deo and I nearly didn't make it last year. We had a real low point. We just thought we couldn't get through this, and actually came out of that time even stronger. And I think it's important to remember that Deo is a man with a partner who he loves very much, with a stepdaughter he loves very much, with parents, with his twin sister and brothers here in London. He's leaving behind a lot of people, and I didn't even mention the running community. But it's a long time to go away with a lot of insecurity. So, we put things in place, and I've got things that he will discover whilst he's out there, and the emotional support. But I think what will be hard for Deo as well, for him to be far from me, having come on such a huge journey myself recently, and suddenly, when I never thought I would, found love again. And he's a lot more than, well, he's my best friend, and it's going to be hard going through the times, that he's, when you're low, when you need that hug, and we'll really miss those times. And he'll miss them as much as I'll miss them, and he'll miss not being here to support me in the moment, and likewise. So that will be it'll be a real journey. There'll be times we won't want to speak to each other, or certainly I won't want to pick up the phone, because there'll be all sorts of things going off here, and I know it'll be hard to. I want to protect him, but I think keeping him present in our daily life here is going to be so vitally important to his progress in Africa. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. And how do you prepare for something like that, like yourself? Do you just kind of like, I'm just going to wait until the day and deal with it then? Like, are you, what things are you getting into place to prepare yourself?
I'm booking races. I've got a few races to train for. I've got run clubs I'm going to try and go to regularly. I will be running. Running solo finds peace. I've recently qualified as a health coach, an integrative health coach, and my business is ready to launch, and I should have launched months ago, but I've decided to sort of put that on hold until maybe Deo's left, so that I can give him the time I need. So I will be focusing on that. But that has also gave me the opportunity to learn more about myself and know how that give me the tools I need to whether it's meditation or through nutrition or I have quite a few hobbies. I love writing, and so there'll be lots of things I'll feed off. And I think journaling will be a huge thing. It really will. But who knows? I mean, emotional. My close friends, my really close friends, they know who they are. They know that this is going to be really hard. So we just have to trust the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, trust the process.
And, and that the finding things for yourself, the finding ways to do those things maybe that you had otherwise put off. This is where, like, doing something like Deo is doing, yes, it's going to be painful to be away from him that long. But it does kind of emphasize the point of sometimes when we get in our comfort safety zone, when we are in a place where we have all the people we love, we have everything, we have that routine, we have just life in the way, that it requires something to make you, to force you into that zone where you actually take action and do these things. And when that happens, there's this kind of maybe, and there probably will be for you, this resistance of like, I can't do this. Like, you'll want to shell up and all that. And it's about, accepting that. As you said, meditation will be a key, but also acknowledging that that's part of the process and that's part of your body and brain trying to keep you safe. And that's difficult. And I think that's something that so many people listen to after my ultra. I had so many people reaching out saying, I want to do something like that. I want to push myself out of my comfort zone. I want to get something big on my calendar, but it's different to say that. And then it's different to actually go to do it. So yeah, what thoughts have you had around that over the, past few weeks as you're preparing for this time, that have allowed you to kind of work through some of that?
Do you know, it changes every day, Tina. Every month is a roller coaster for me as a woman in my late 40s. And it's a roller coaster for a woman, full stop, I think, but hormonally speaking, we do often say we're going to be two very different people when he comes back. But what we do know categorically, without a doubt, is we have a profound love for each other. And it's not something neither of us have ever experienced before in a partner. So we really trust that this is going to be okay. I was due to run 100 miles in a couple of weeks' time. And I pulled out of that in March, April. And I felt when I signed up to it that I needed something to make this year be also a focus for me and not just a focus for Deo. And it is relentless. Every day we talk about 381 Project, Run Africa. Every moment, every conversation comes back to it. Whenever we try and not do it, it always leans that way. It's so mind-bogglingly hard to get your head around, even for us, but it's hard to not talk about it. And I think the 100 miler was going to be my sort of gift to myself. Really wanted to do it. I had my friends at Camino Ultra supporting me. They even gifted me the place. And I got very ill in February with a chest infection, and I lost too much training. And I'm not a natural runner as it is. I'm very new to running, as you know. And 100 miles I'm absolutely going to nail it. I can't wait to do it. It's written. I really do believe it, but I just felt like it wasn't this year, and that And now when we look at it, we think, wow, had I been training all this time for a 100 miler, would have put too much pressure on us, I think. So maybe that's something that I will, because my 100-kilometer race last year, Deo was a crew with my daughter, and it wasn't the plan, but she was there, and one of my best friends. And it was a wonderful day. And, having them at the finishing line and meeting up multiple times along the route. He was there in Paris when I ran the marathon. He was there at the end of the 70K I did in January, and Deo's there. He's there unconditionally, just full of pride. And so I think it will be good for me to go and run races when he's not going to be at the finishing line for me. And the first thing I'll want to do is pick up the phone and message him and say, I've done this. And that will fuel his journey as well. So, there's also things I want to do. I really want to write a book. I've really, really fallen into love with writing, and I enjoy writing, and I really want to write a book. And maybe that's something I can start this year, because it's a gift. My daughter's, nearly 13. She's much more independent. Dayo's going away for over a year. Maybe I won't get this opportunity again.
Thank you to Allbirds for sponsoring this episode of the Running For Real podcast. And you have heard me talking about Allbirds, how I am wearing Allbirds pretty much 24/7. Okay, not when I'm inside the house. I'm not wearing them right now. But anytime I'm outside or doing something, I'm wearing Allbirds. I run in the tree flyers. I wear the tree dashes for most of my daily activities. When I was working at the Chicago Marathon, the Shamrock Shuffle, which is part of the group that puts on the Chicago Marathon, I was on my feet for 10 to 14 hours at a time. Those dashes were so comfortable. My feet did not hurt at all at the end of the day. I also love the plant paces. Those are kind of the more fashion forward. They're made of plant leather, so they're not vegan, which is made of plastic. And those are my kind of casual shoes. I also love the loungers for going out in the evenings. Pretty much everything I wear is Allbirds, and you will see why when you head over to their website. You will see everything is beautifully made. It is sustainably made. They are obsessed with getting their carbon number down, which means the amount of carbon emissions that goes into each individual shoe. You will see there is a carbon number on each item, which means how many emissions are going into the atmosphere with each item they make. And the numbers that they get are pretty impressive with how low they are able to get them compared to other companies. So sustainability is at the core of this company, and I absolutely love it. Now, as a friend of mine, you can get a free pair of socks with your order. You just need to add a pair of socks to your cart when you click the link in the show notes. Add a pair of socks and it will take them off when you use that link. Take off the price, I should say. Again, I want to recommend the tree flyers. Those are the ones I run with. I also recommend the tree dashes. Those are my day-to-day favorite. And the pacers and the loungers. Those are the ones I want to talk about today. Go check them out. You can't really go wrong. Thank you so much to Allbirds for your support. Yes. I'm all for encouraging books, and like you, I like to write. So I think that would be a good idea for you. I want to go back to the 100 miler for just a few minutes here, in that decision to back out. And now you can look back and be like, well, that would have been way too much. But that choice back there, often we are presented with those moments where our gut says, not because you were ill, but literally your intuition says, I just get the feeling this is not right now. Like you said, not forever, but right now this is not right. Talk us through how hard that decision was to do that, but also maybe how did you feel once you finally said it out loud? Because often actually it takes more courage to step away from something than to just keep barreling on through.
Yeah, really, really hard. Oh gosh, felt like I've failed, and I'm really emotional talking about it because it was just such a big dream, and in this particular 100 miler, I really want to do. And I believe this process. So I could have deferred to. No, I can't. This particular organisation doesn't allow you to defer. They give you a percentage refund. But I could have moved it to a 100 mile later in the year. But something really speaks to me deeply about this particular one. So really, really hard. And obviously still very emotional about it. But I gave up a lot for my 100 kilometers last year. And this year is not the time. I'm at peace with that. It's hard, but I'm at peace with it. I think I never thought I was going to inspire so many people on my journey. When women come up to me even now and say, you really inspire me. Thank you so much. And I'm taking a group of women on a trail run in a couple of weeks' time who had never done ultras until this July, and they're training for their first 50 kilometers. And I'm so proud to take them on this half marathon trail in a few weeks' time. It's got quite a lot of elevation. It's got amazing views. It's taken them out of their comfort zone. I can't wait. And I think not doing the 100-miler feels like I'm letting that audience down, even though I never thought I would have that following. Although, it's a huge honor to inspire other women. It really is. It's beyond my dreams. So just saying to all you women listening, I am going to do that 100-miler. And I get a lot of support from women. At the end of my 70K in January, a lot of them were there at the end. I run with my T-shirt, one woman running for all women everywhere. Really proud. It's a message I came up with just before Paris and the Paris Marathon. And it felt like I wasn't running alone. And that's how I feel, like I'm surrounded, but I've got my peace because I like my solitude as well. So, it will be really hard for Deo because he's the best person to crew me. He knows me better than anyone, especially with my running. But maybe it's going to be my biggest accomplishment to go and do that whilst he's away, and he can, he'll be running whilst I'm running. That's going to be a beautiful thing. We'll look up and see the same moon. It's all relevant.
Yes, I love that. What would you say to one of those women who you're taking on the trail, or you've inspired? If one of them had to back out of their half marathon or today, let's say, because of something going wrong, or having to back out of a race, what would you tell that person if someone listening to this is in that moment of like, I know this is the right choice, I know this is for the best, but it's so hard? What would you tell them?
It's interesting because one of my dearest friends has had to just do that. So she won't be coming on the trail run, and she won't be doing the ultra. And I would say, honor that feeling. Honor the feeling. I mean, for me, I'm really big on allowing those feelings in, whatever they are. Allow them in, but don't hold on to them. Know that you made that decision for the right reasons, and it's not the right time. Someone said to me not long ago, we're ultra runners, so we're in for the long haul. And it's true. I'm not training for a half marathon. I'm not training for a marathon. I'm training for ultra marathons. I've got my sights on other ones. I want to run 100 kilometers when I'm 100. And we are in for the long haul. So believe in the process. And, as you get older, things take longer. I wouldn't say they're harder because women in their 50s and 60s are doing incredible things. It's more that recovery takes longer. Our bodies are changing. Honor that, be at peace with that, and enjoy the process.
Thank you. That's a really important message. Is there anything else about supporting, your partner, being alongside someone, figuring out how you fit in with their journey, with your own life that we haven't talked about that you would like to share at this point?
I think it's really important to go back to the human migration piece of this. It's something that's really, really important, and it's going to change so much. And I do believe Deo has been put on this planet to be that person. He's a change maker. He'll be in the history books. I do believe that kids growing up will learn about Deo and his run through Africa, and they'll learn about human migration and change the way we think. I certainly wasn't taught about it in school. I'm a privileged white woman. I was brought up in mid Wales. Interestingly, we work with we were part of an organization, or we were members of an organization when I was very young, when I was 5 or 6 years old. Every summer, kids from London would come and stay with us in Wales. And they were always children of colour, and they would always be coming from an environment where they didn't have a garden, or they lived in high-rise flats, or and just didn't have the access to nature that we had in Wales. And so we gave them holidays, and every year these kids came, and it was the best time of our lives and fondest memories. And we don't have social media then, and we don't have a way of contacting these kids. And the kids usually would change every year. It would just be a feast for their eyes, for something they'd never experienced, but for us as well, these cool kids from the city. Yeah. So I grew up with a family supporting equality always, and I'm proud of that. And I think what's important is that this isn't a story Deo's telling for young kids of colour to grow up. It's for all of us, and that's really important. My daughter is a 12-year-old girl. It's important for her as well. It's important for her children. It's important for Deo's future child as we grow our family, which is what we want to do when he gets back. And that's a beautiful thing. And my hope is that people will really sit up and rethink what they've been told and been taught, and really question their understanding of history. It's just been retold. We all need to be open to that. And that's what I would say to people, is that if you want to follow someone running through Africa, there's a guy doing it at the moment. There are guys, men, women, doing all sorts of incredible things when it comes to running. But if you want to watch someone create history, then follow Deo's journey. We're working with schools. We want to promote this. The film that will be made about his journey, we imagine it being in schools as the new curriculum to teach kids across the globe.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And you're right that this is so important to talk about. And I do want to address just. So you mentioned before we started recording about, us as two white women having this conversation and the importance of that. And for people listening who may agree and feel like, yes, things do need to change, but like either this isn't my place to have a conversation about this, or more likely, if I have this conversation, it's going to get uncomfortable and it's going to make people, it's going to make an argument, and everyone just wants to keep the peace in my family. I'm just trying to get by. Like, what would you say to people if they are hearing what you're saying, but it's hard? They're thinking, okay, I believe you, but I can't have these conversations with other people because it just gets too much.
Friends have moved away. They've left my Facebook page or my Instagram, or I'm not close friends to them anymore because I've started using my voice, whether that's talking about my journey or Deo's journey, or supporting important causes. I think, again, it's show up, be authentic, but don't show up and be authentic for a couple of weeks. Don't show up and be authentic and supportive in Black History Month. Yeah. Show up all the time. And if that's something you believe and you're authentic, you'll find your new tribe, because the tribe or the community of the people will grow if it's the right people. But if we don't speak up, then that won't grow. And the work that Deo's doing and the sacrifice he's making won't have the impact that it should, and fundamentally will. It's too big to not have that impact. And I think what's important to recognise is that it's got to a point where Black men are still being murdered on the streets. It's still not safe to go out, Black men and women. And quite a few of my female friends are mothers, Black mothers with young boys, and the outlook and the worry that they have is, I can see it, and it's heartbreaking. It really is heartbreaking. And so this is something that is part of all of us, and so we need to show up and help make that change. It has to change. And Deo's sacrificing over a year of his life. He's being away from loved ones. He'll be going through some very, very dangerous zones. Some that are told are dangerous on media, but actually probably aren't very dangerous at all. He's putting a lot of life on the line. We have very, very little funding. But it's such an important story that needs to be told. He's going to do it. And there was no hesitation about supporting him. I was a bit shocked when he sat on the side of the bed, and when I asked him, what are you going to do for year 3? And he said, I'm going to run from Cape Town to London. I said, could you hang on and do that in year 4? Give us a bit more time.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if any of that has been clear or made sense, but I think, we need to stop hiding away from these difficult conversations.
Yeah, and surely supporting Deo's journey in this way for what he's doing is a way to dip your toe in the water, to support him financially. I'll put a link to the GoFundMe page to share about his journey. You never know who that could be passed along to, who could help draw attention to it and provide the support. And just getting people thinking, planting those seeds. I mean, my listeners always know I'm talking about planting the seeds and how important it is. This is a great way to do that. So I will put links in the show notes for people to go support the GoFundMe, so you can support Deo. You also can share about what he is doing. If you live in London, the 23rd of July, go join the community run. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to...
We'll be running from Downing Street to Hammersmith. It will be a 10K run. Good pace, easy pace. There'll probably be about 50, 60 of us, hopefully some more. I would say if people out there listening are trying to understand why a man would do this, just ask yourselves, why. Well, it's because things need to change. Something huge needs to be done for something fundamental to change. So sit with that and imagine what it'd be like if you had to, or you felt something was so wrong in society that you had to leave your loved ones for over a year and put your life on the line and at risk to achieve something so great. And keep following the journey, because the story of human migration will be told in many ways, and updates will be given. So, stay with us.
Thank you so much. Is there any last things you wanna share with us today?
No, I would say, Tina, thank you for being authentic and supporting Deo's journey and reaching out. And, you've given him a platform in the US as well, and that makes a big difference. So thank you when it's such a hard time in your life, unexpectedly, to give me space. So appreciate it.
Oh my God. Of course. No, I appreciate you and appreciate Deo. And I'm still bummed we didn't manage to for the listeners, we're crossing paths, but just missing each other a lot on London Day. But it will happen at some point. I appreciate you, Alice, for sharing your journey, for, as I said, reaching out about this and bringing up this important point. And I encourage listeners, go check out all of those links in the show notes. I'll give you more information in just a second. But thank you, Alice. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
The Running for Real podcast and everything we do here at Running for Real would not be possible if it wasn't for the Running for Real team. While I am the person who you hear from most often and maybe the face of the brand, the rest of our team are such critical pieces of what we do. And without them, I think I'd just be running around in circles with ideas. So I want to take a moment to thank our team. To Jeremy Nessel, who's been with me since the very beginning. Kat McKay, Sally Pontarelli, Kelsey Wang, Sandy Gutierrez, Louise Murphy, Andrew Basola, Alexandria Will, and Maria Vargas. Thank you to each and every one of you for all that you give to Running for Real and our community. I appreciate you, and I'm so thankful for having you as a part of the team. Thank you so much for listening to that episode with Alice and I. Such an important one and topic we haven't really covered in great depth. So I'm glad Alice reached out about that. It is an important one. I want to encourage you to go listen to that episode with Deo if you have not already, and go support his journey. There's also links in the show notes for supporting him in what he is about to do in this story of human migration. What a powerful thing he is doing there. And I really encourage you to support him in any way that you can. Financially is obviously huge, but also sharing about his journey. I mean, absolutely should this be out there. This is my part in doing so, and I hope you can do yours. You never know where sharing it with your community, even if you have a small community, where that could go. Thank you so much for listening today. Remember, you can check out all the links I talked about in the show notes by going to runningforreal.com/episode 354. You'll find links in the show notes to dry seats, to Allbirds, and to pre-order Becoming a Sustainable Runner. I will see you on Monday for a Together Run, on Wednesday for a For Real episode, and next Friday for a regular episode. I'll see you then.